learning is a real, it's always a challenge, learning. And you know, I've talked a lot today about how to learn through story and embedding concepts in stories. But there's another piece to learning, and that has to do with seeing. The visual cortex in the occipital region, the back part of the brain here is the most, it's where the greatest amount of horsepower is. Our brains devote enormous amount of horsepower to seeing compared to Broca's and Wernicke's regions, these little parts of the temporal lobe, lobes that are associated with auditory processing, or the sensory motor strip that's dealing with kinesthesia and the vestibular system and whatnot. And so how do you make something easily learnable? You make it highly visual. Just imagine a giant church, great big white church with stained glass, falls out of the sky right in the middle of the street. Whoa! Right? You see what that looks like? Okay, just imagine that. And then the windows in this church start breaking out and people are sticking guns out of them and they start shooting at people. And, okay, with me on this? This is storytelling that's visual. People are shooting, and of course all the people start running into their apartments all around and hiding behind the door of the apartment because they don't want to be shot at. And they turn on their TV to see what's going on in the quiet privacy of their own apartment and safety. And they turn on the TV, and the O.J. Simpson trial is going on. Remember O.J. Simpson? Yeah, it hasn't been so long. And he's sitting, you know, he's accused of murdering his wife and her boyfriend. And he's sitting at the defense table with a giant piece of tape over his mouth on the TV screen in the apartment across the street from where the church fell out of the sky and the guns are shooting, okay? And looking at the TV screen, and here's O.J. Simpson with a giant piece of bright orange tape over his mouth. And then the camera shifts a little bit, and you see that on his feet, instead of normal shoes, he's got these giant shoes that look like machines that are like with wheels and some sort of mechanism, and the wheels are actually spinning. He's holding his shoes a few inches above the floor, so that, because if he hits the floor, he's going to go flying off like that, right? He's ready to fly, ready to go, ready to be very, very speedy. You with me so far? Sitting there with a tape on his mouth with his speedy shoes, and opposite him is the jury, right? Of course, he's in court, and there's the jury, and the jury people are all looking at him like, look at those shoes, uh-oh, right? Wouldn't you? And now you can see the pictures, the alarmed look on the faces of these jurors, right? Big, bug-eyed, what are we going to do? And so several of the jury people they open the side door and there's some bales of hay there. And so they start grabbing bales of hay and bringing them in and stacking them in front of the jury box. So if O.J. flies away from that table, he'll run into the hay instead of them. Okay? These bales of hay. And so he's stacking these bales of hay. Now, pretty soon they stack up so many bales of hay that you can hardly move in there. And these people are, you know, Americans, Midwestern Americans. This was the 80s, I think, wasn't it? The O.J., the 90s, whenever it was. People wore a lot of polyester. And they're all dressed in these polyester leisure suits and things. And the polyester's rubbing up against the hay, and it's creating all kinds of static electricity. And so there's these sparks flying around from person to person among the jurors. Still with me? Okay? Sparks flying back and forth. And so some of the jurors are like, oh, we got to get out of here. This is, and so they run outside, but there's still all this static electricity. It starts flying up to the electric power lines, and it's shooting out through the electric power lines, and way off in New York, it browns out New York. In Los Angeles, it browns out Los Angeles, and it shuts down the city because it's bringing down the whole power grid, all this static electricity in all these states, all over the states of the United States. The power system is collapsing. Okay? Got the story? Now, if we walk the story backwards, the power system is collapsing, and the collapse is caused by what? The people wearing polyester, right? And those people are just came from behind the bales of hay. Are you with me here, going backwards on the story? And the bales of hay are there because OJ's wearing Speedy shoes, right? And he's sitting there with what on his mouth? Tape. He's got tape over his mouth. And we're seeing him because we're watching a TV across the street in an apartment, in the privacy of an apartment, right? Okay, make that transition. He's on with this on TV. And we went to the apartment because they were shooting guns out of the windows of the church. Now, in the United States, I used to do a lot of consulting for school districts back when I was, this was my, ADD was, you know, I was doing a lot of ADD work. And I would say to teachers, there's no such thing as a child who can't learn. And I would have teachers say, I got kids who can't learn anything. And, you know, and I would say, give me your class for 15 minutes. And I will have every kid in that room memorize frontward and backward the Declaration, or the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the US Constitution. And they'd say, nonsense, it's impossible. The first 10 amendments to the US Constitution. Number 1, freedom of religion. See the church? Guess what number 2 is? Guns, right? The right to have guns. Number 3, oh, I missed something in the story. There were soldiers flying out of the sky. 3 is easy to forget. The soldiers came down out of the sky and you know, to try and protect people. Number 3, which is never used, is that they can't force you to quarter soldiers in your home, which most Americans don't even know what that means, but the British used to do it. Number 4, you flee to the privacy of the apartment. The 4th is the right to privacy. Now we see OJ with the tape over his mouth. Number 5, the right to not incriminate yourself in a court of law. You don't have to speak. Number 6, you look at his speedy shoes. He has the right to a speedy trial. 6th, right to a speedy trial. Number 7, what's opposite him? The jury. You have a right to a trial by jury. That's the 7th Amendment of the Constitution. The 8th Amendment of the Constitution is you have the right to make bail. The 9th Amendment to the Constitution says that all power, remember the static electricity? All power not reserved to the government in the Constitution goes to the people. And the 10th Amendment, when the people run outside and they start shutting down the states, is that all power not taken by the people or reserved by the government goes to the states. And if you can just remember the story and see the pictures, you've now memorized the Bill of Rights, the American Bill of Rights. Here it's Sweden, for goodness sake. But the point of the story is that if you can make things visual, and particularly absurdly visual, because the brain has so much visual capability, and this is why stories are so powerful. You tell stories and people see them, they imagine them, particularly if you use visual imagery. Then you can embed memory, you can embed content in there that people carry with them for years and years and years.